region slightly adjusted. I think to make this a little bit easier to connect in a combo.
I've got a gift for you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wraithcast. My name is Brian of Chamber of the Wraith, and today we have the esteemed Mayonetta, the fantastic Fishbowl,
How y'all doing?
and the delightful Death by Manga, although you'll probably know them better as Honey.
Hi.
Real quick, Matty.
Hmm.
There we go.
I was here. I was just taking a sip of my hot chocolate.
Hey, that's a perfect thing we could transition into. So, today or tomorrow is All Hallows Eve, and I'm always a big fan of doing holiday specials because I'm a dork like that. So, with that being said, I think the first order of business, we're going to start from Fishbowl. I see that Honey has changed their name, which is totally fair. So Fishbowl, this is obviously going to be a super duper loose, just like your experiences with Halloween sort of thing. Whenever trick-or-treating is a big part of that, what would you say was like your favorite part of trick-or-treating? Like, was there a house that you always knew had the good shit, or was there a particular time when it was like, it's hailing and it's Halloween and whatnot? So why don't we start with that? Trick-or-treating shenanigans.
I think my favorite part of trick-or-treating as a kid was probably seeing all the elaborate Halloween decorations some people would put up. I remember one time when I was like, I'd say around 9 or 10-ish, one of the neighbors set up his garage to be like a sort of haunted house. And whenever kids would go in to get candy from the bowl, he would sneak up behind us from the bushes of his garden, and and I think it was like maybe a Jason, it was probably a Jason costume to scare the shit out of us.
Good times, good times. Nothing wrong with getting all spookified, because it is the spooky season. Honey, how about your trick-or-treating experience?
Trick-or-treating was never really a big part of Halloween for me. I've only gone trick-or-treating like 2, maybe 3 times as far as I can remember.
Ah.
And none of them were really all that interesting.
Ah. Well, the interesting thing in and of itself is that you only went a handful of times.
Fair enough.
And what about you, Matty?
I didn't ever go trick-or-treating because this is like a fully American phenomenon. That was like kids trick-or-treating, but it wasn't like as big a thing over here as it is over in the States and Canada, I guess.
A little bit of cool
Oh,
cultural
don't
stuff.
lie. You've had your witch trials too.
Oh,
Don't know what that means. Oh, wait, no. Yeah. It's like...
Oh, jeez.
Wait, are we talking about historical accuracy, or are we talking about kids going around asking for candy? Like, come on now.
I was saying,
both?
Well, I had intended to be about kids going around having getting candy, but I mean, witches, I suppose.
We can talk about witch hunts, but like, this is very clearly not about that.
Yeah, that's not where I was aiming that. To be fair.
Well, I declare this to be a witch hunt. You're all after me.
Ah! We'll talk witch hunts soon enough, I suppose. But never was a big thing in England to go trick-or-treating for candy? Really?
No, not really. I would walk around the neighborhood and with my mom and like see the decorations, definitely.
Ah, so
But,
it's more
like,
of a sightseeing thing.
Yeah, but I was like, I did notice, like, as I got older, people just kind of trailed off Halloween in general. And, like, fewer and fewer houses had, like, decorations out.
So Halloween is not as big of a thing in
Yeah.
England in general as it would be
Mm.
stateside or in Canada land, as you'll
Yeah,
soon
the
find
most,
out.
like, some places trick or treat, and we have pumpkin spice latte, and that's about it.
Gotta get that sweet marketing gig in.
Yeah.
Right. Well, for me, being Canadian, we have had quite an interesting environmental challenge every time we went trick-or-treating. It was 'cause
always
it's
like cold as shit over there.
it was always freaking cold. Like by the time of Halloween, usually it had been below zero for about 2 or 3 weeks. And one winter, I distinctly remember we were trick-or-treating around the neighborhood, but a cold snap had hit in the middle of our trick-or-treating. And when I say a cold snap, I mean it was minus 40. Both Celsius and Fahrenheit, by the way, because that's the only temperature where those two temperature scales meet. So yeah, it was minus 40. I was like 7 or 8 in a real... And you obviously couldn't just be Spider-Man. You had to be Spider-Man in a very poofy jacket. And we had prepared for like it to be like minus 20 and whatnot, but nope, it got down to minus 40. So we didn't get very far around before Dad, who is very persistent in the matter, shows up in his truck and starts driving us from house to house to prevent us from getting frostbite.
Yeah.
So, in case you ever wondered what it was like to trick-or-treat in Canada, very, very cold. At least in part of Canada where I was at, so, or where I'm at,
Yeah.
so. That year we also actually had probably the best haul that we ever had, because, like, just, I guess, the neighborhood people were all super sympathetic about it. So, like, here, have these gigantic... There we go! There's Canada's Spider-Man right there. I'm so glad you brought that up, Matty. Alright. Since Honey brought this up, any interesting historical spooky trivia that you would like to bring up for Halloween? So trivia based off of things like the movie monsters or witches or spiders or, you know, how we came to deal with pumpkins or whatever. What kind of funky spooky season related trivia do you have? And since Honey mentioned witch hunts, I will let her deal with that.
Okay. Actually, an interesting thing, like casual people probably don't know this. Witch hunts were actually illegal under the church for their initial inception, because under the Catholic Church, the entire principle of it that made Christianity so hard to mix with other religions was their idea that only God could do magic. Only God could work miracles, and magic was just another kind of miracle. So nothing supernatural could exist unless God willed it. And so the idea that witches could exist in the first place, that there are people practicing witchcraft, was heretical because you were saying that there was somebody who could do miracles that wasn't God. And so it was actually a crime to accuse somebody of witchcraft in the original days. And it only got swapped around because the public masses were so obsessed with using them as a way to kill anybody they didn't like in society.
And I imagine the mass hallucinations during Salem in 1662 and 1693 certainly coaxed the church to look the other way in this instance.
Well, the thing is with Salem is actually that the witch trials themselves were not that common at that time anymore. The reason the Salem witch trials were became such a big spectacle was because it was one of the first real major witch trial things that had gone on in a long time. Like, it was a while since the last witch trial before the Salem stuff. And so that's the only reason why it got caught into the popular conception. It was like some weird ritual that nobody had done for quite a long time.
And, of course, it certainly didn't help when people were like, oh, sweet Jesus, why is everybody dancing in the street? And nobody ever thought about funguses that or fungi that were capable of releasing LSD as a waste product. So, you know.
Most of it was just religious conservatives trying to have some sort of dominant control over a new colony that didn't have that much government oversight.
Because everybody was trying to run away from that sort of thing. So, yay!
Yeah.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to say something, Fishbowl?
Oh no.
Okay. Matty, spooky trivia. What you got? Matty?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking. The only well, you said movie monsters,
Yeah,
right? The only
movie-
trivia
movie-
I have related to that is the statue of Jason Voorhees at the bottom of a lake.
That's still something really cool. I forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah.
Man, that must have been terrifying. Like if you're just scuba diving and all of a sudden, Jesus, it's Jason.
Oh no, actually, I do know. Oh shit, I might have to fact check this actually. But I do believe that
fact check for you.
Photoshop was invented for creating the water effects on the Thing.
Like for the Thing movie.
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Let me take a look.
Again, I will have to double check that because I'm not sure on that.
Well.
No, not The Thing, The Abyss. Was it The Thing or The Abyss? It was one of those two. And Photoshop was created for that movie. Whichever one it was.
Yeah. Well, Photoshop first was developed in 1987, and then the distribution license got sold to Adobe in 1988. And according to Wikipedia, find in page.
Adobe created the first version of Photoshop because of a James Cameron movie, and Cameron's 1989 film The Abyss, the most memorable use of the image. Yeah.
Interesting.
The software to create these scenes was created in 1987 as a side project to Thomas Knoll.
And his brother John.
Yeah.
Neat. The more you know. So Photoshop was first used for a James Cameron movie.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Well, probably not first use, but it hit the mainstream.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, that's still really cool because as somebody who fiddles around with Photoshop occasionally, still trying to use it for a project that I think I
Here
might
we
just
go.
end up canning
After the
because
program was further developed and refined, it was demoed to Adobe in 1988. Adobe was immediately impressed by Display. That's the prior name of the program. And just 2 years later, the company published the first edition of Photoshop, which is now the most popular photo editing program on the market, and I am proud to say I do indeed pirate Adobe products. Yikes.
Well, I don't pirate it per se. We have a joint account here, where it's shared amongst the family. But yeah, as somebody who uses Photoshop rather sparingly, just because I usually try and use it for things like the Mortal Kombat as Pokemon Trainers video and the Bat Family as Pokemon Trainers video that I think I'm actually going to scrap because it's been causing me nothing but headaches.
I just use GIMP.
Hey.
Yeah, I also have GIMP, and that's my photo editing tool, but for actual drawing, I use Photoshop.
Yeah, nothing
I
wrong
use
with
something called Pixel App on my phone to edit photos.
Neat. This is all very cool stuff. And I love hearing about new apps because I still want to try DaVinci Resolve at some point. See.
Oh, DaVinci's fucking great. I have it installed. It's amazing.
I all those those team roster things those team rosters I like making. I use Pixel Lab on that when I have free time.
Cool. I think if we schedule this smartly, you would have a real blast with the Arkham fighting game concept. But that's for November. That's for November. I've got some fun trivia. It's going back to those witch trials. I kind of hinted at this earlier. The kind of inciting incident that allowed the Salem witch trials to kind of happen, the things that the things that the witches were being blamed for. Ergot of rye is a kind of fungus that can affect rye, hence the name. And it's not generally toxic to humans, but it produces, as a waste product, lysergic acid, which is the active ingredient in LSD. So, the reason why everybody was freaking out and losing their minds in 1662 and 1693, preceding the witch trials, was because of a bad batch of rye that got in the bread and everything they ate, causing everybody to have a mass LSD trip.
Spring break!
Unintentionally, unexpected, and from what I have heard, I have not done LSD myself, if you could not tell, but from what I have heard, if you spike somebody with LSD without them knowing, the trip is almost always bad. So
it's never a good idea to spike somebody. You can cause some actual psychological trauma by spiking somebody with LSD or any other hallucinogen.
Yeah, that's what happened, like, that's real tragic, is that these people, obviously not knowing that ergot of rye was the responsible culprit, got likely psychologically traumatized by the 6 to 10 hour trip that they didn't sign up for, and in their fear, in their panic, they went, and the people who are looking to take advantage of something to put people down that they didn't like, used the people's trauma to their advantage. So it's kind of it's a really good example of how a massive misunderstanding could hurt so many people, even the ones that never got high. Right? You know, the poor women that ended up getting roasted alive. And then the people who did get directly affected had mental trauma, and it was just bad.
Well, it was more than just women who were killed during the witch trials. There's a very famous and public case of one guy who was accused, and his punishment was they were trying to get a confession out of him by torturing him, because that was usually how witch trials worked. And they decided to crush him to death by putting a plank of wood on top of him and then just piling rocks over and over on it. And his famously, I don't know if any of this is actually confirmed or not, but his famous last words were just "more rocks," because he just wouldn't play along.
I'll have to look into that at some point, but that definitely sounds spooky. How about you, Fishbowl? Do you have any fun spooky facts for this fun spooky season?
Okay, so I really like this fact. In the state of New York, it is illegal to sell someone a haunted house without telling them first. It's illegal. Like, if the buyer thinks, if the seller thinks that a house or an apartment or a space, it might be haunted, and they've already disclosed that information publicly, then they are by law required to tell people that are buying the house, that are thinking about buying the houses, that they think the house is haunted.
Wow, that's definitely a real cool fact that I didn't think about. I love when weird laws can get weaseled in like that.
There's one case called Stambowski versus Ackley. That's also called the Ghostbusters ruling, in that kind of established that verdict. I can hold up.
This sounds very interesting. I didn't know that New York had like an anti-haunted house law, but I didn't realize that the Stambowski versus Ackley.
Yeah.
Wow. Madness.
I originally, those Believe It or Not books that people sell to kids?
Oh yeah, the Ripley stuff that is still ongoing.
Yeah, I originally read it in there and thought it was really neat and decided to look into it, and I found this.
Cool. You gotta love Ripley's, especially since it's over a century of crazy shit that happened. Matty! Next thing. I'm gonna throw a dart at the board, see what we get. We get Spooky movies. All right. So, a lot of people like horror movies. I'm a little iffy on them depending on like what kind of horror. Like I like kind of the old school slasher movies more so than straight up movies that are designed to scare you because I'm a big baby.
Yeah.
Rude.
But I'm very curious, like, what is kind of your go-to Halloween movie? Not even necessarily scary movie, just like maybe it's got Halloween vibes or that's
I don't have one.
really?
I don't really watch like holiday themed movies. I watch movies whenever I want to watch movies, I guess.
Okay, so tweaking the question a little bit, what's your what's your favorite movie that you would think would make for a good Halloween movie? If that makes sense.
I mean, any of the classic slashes is a safe bet, I guess. Let me pull up my letterbox.
Gotta keep that catalog on lock.
Filter by genre, horror. Okay. Oh, To Your Lost Death is very good.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you were talking to us about To Your Last Death when it was when I think our first movie episode when it was just you, me, Mono, and Fishbowl.
Yeah. Very good movie. Very strong trigger warning for just like all the triggers. All of them.
Lots of
This is a
violence,
heavy
lots
movie.
of sex, lots of just
Yeah. And also Vivarium was very good. I like that.
What'd you say? What was it called?
Vivarium with Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots, I believe.
Bivarium. Bivarium.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. Just had to make sure I had the spelling right. Also, I love that we have somebody in the movie named Imogen. Like, are you a Shakespearean time traveler?
I'm looking at the movies I have watched on my letterbox that are like listed under the horror genre. A lot of these I would not classify as horror.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
Dude,
maybe just because like they're not
The thing is,
scary
Halloween
that they
isn't
don't.
really horror. You don't need to be watching a horror movie to be watching a Halloween themed movie.
yeah, and
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying like Letterbox has some odd things classed as horror. So like Blade is in horror, but like that's more of an action movie.
No,
like it's got
Oh,
horror.
an
movie.
awesome action movie, but still an
Yeah, I
action
think
movie.
horror movies invoke fear in some way,
Yeah,
rather than like it being a genre that uses a horror monster. So like Blade is an action movie that uses vampires.
Yeah, like if it was a horror, like if it was more so a theme rather than an actual genre. that they
Yeah,
were trying to
yeah.
present.
Oh, although I will say Panos Cosmatos, my guy, he's only made 2 movies, both of them S tier. So there's Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy. And
I was about to say, hold on a minute. That name rings a bell. Mandy got brought up. That's one of those movies where you just get to see Nick Cage absolutely go ape shit.
Yeah, oh my god, he goes off the rails. And
You'll need to see both Mandy
it had
and
one of the
Colorado
dudes
Space.
from 1987 Predator in it.
Hey, there we go. And yeah, because 87 Predator was like an alien sci-fi slasher flick that also doubled as an action movie. So
Yeah.
we actually, finally, we actually get to talk about Predator, and it's definitely recorded. I'm still totally not eaten up by the fact that I spent an hour and a bottle of wine talking about Predator, and it ended up being for nothing.
I mean, we could always re-record.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did that for the comics episode, I guess for the first comics episode, we did do that because that also happened. So small mercies. Actually, 1 second. Small one. Would you like to participate in the thing? Okay. Enjoy your Tinkerbell movie, small one. Little sister, I wanted to try and rope her into the horror movie thing because she knows more about these than I do, but I did not. So, when it comes to horror flicks, or Halloween-style movies, I don't know why I sounded like a real, like, snobby-ass film critic there. There aren't all that many that, like, jump out at me, but there's two that I really want to get around to watching, in the tomorrow zone, as it were. Because last year I did a whole bunch of Twilight Zone stuff, and that was really good. But for me, the two movies I want to watch that are like Halloween-based are The Nightmare Before Christmas, because I haven't actually watched it during Halloween. I saw it out of season, as it were.
That's because it's not a Halloween movie. Technically it's a November movie.
Yes.
But more than that, it's a Christmas movie. So,
There's 3 appropriate times in the year where you can watch it, and they're like back-to-back month-wise. But I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare Before Christmas in like July, many, many, many moons ago. So I think just for a vibe, I think that would really work. But the other one I want to actually see that I haven't actually really seen very much of personally, like I only saw the title sequence for this movie, is Coraline.
Because, now that's a Halloween movie.
Because I'm a big fan of Neil Gaiman, and then I found out that the movie was based off of a book written by Neil Gaiman, and I'm like, okay, why am I not signed up for this yet?
And apparently the book was like way more fucked up than the movie.
So I've heard.
I read the book as a kid. It didn't seem that fucked up to me.
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the book. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I read it as a kid. It was in my school library.
I think for like your serious, darker like drama horror, I would say Bone Tomahawk is a good Halloween movie.
That just sounds like a good Halloween movie. Bone
Yeah, it's
Tomahawk.
a western, and for your like campy, goofy Halloween movies, definitely Addams Family or Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Well, it is. Elvira is just synonymous with that. I did actually find out recently about a movie that I'm really keen on checking out if I can get it to work. It's called Blood Quantum. It is the synopsis is that the dead are coming back to life and almost all of Earth's population are decimated due to a zombie virus, except for the isolated Mi'kmaq reserve of Red Crow, whose indigenous inhabitants are strangely immune to the plague. It's got a large Native American cast, and I think at least a couple of them are actually Mi'kmaq. And this movie actually was released both in English and in the language of the Mi'kmaq.
Nice.
So, I'm actually very interested in seeing this flick, just because I was scrolling through Crave, because I couldn't get it to work, so I figured I might as well just scroll through Crave, see what they got. Found Blood Quantum, and I'm like, that sounds interesting. I don't see why not. Bowl of Fishes!
Yep.
What is your favorite Halloween kind of themed movie?
For movies, I'd probably have to go with maybe Alien and Aliens, since they're classic sci-fi horror movies, no matter what randos on Twitter might say. But
Wait.
I don't know, for actual things to watch around Halloween, I usually go for shows, like Over the Garden Wall, which is like a great classic Halloween watch. Gravity Falls is a really good Halloween watch. I was planning on watching Castlevania this season again, rewatching Castlevania this season on Netflix, but I ended up binging all of like Iron Man Armored Adventures instead, so...
Fair news. By the way, interesting thing to shift it back to shows and whatnot. My sister's obsessed with Gravity Falls, so...
Oh yeah, it's a masterpiece, but...
it's bizarre from what I've seen. Stop going into power save mode, if you would please, monitors. Shit, I had something to say, but I couldn't remember what it was. Could you repeat what your answers were so I can get back on track?
Movies are the Alien duology, and
That's what it was.
else.
That's what it was. Who in their right
for shows,
mind?
it was Over the Garden Wall, Gravity Falls, and I was planning on rewatching Castlevania, but
Yeah, but things happen.
Teenage Iron Man got in the way.
But I remember it was Aliens, and you mentioned that that some chuds on the internet don't consider it a horror movie.
No, I remember this one massive thread from some film critic that was trying to argue that Aliens wasn't a horror movie, and like nearly everyone was dunking on them because like, have you seen Alien? Of course, it's a horror movie.
Yeah, like that was the initial intention for the to say that Alien is not a horror movie is like to say Star Wars isn't a Western.
It's not.
It is.
It is.
Kinda is. Like, I mean,
In what way is it a Western?
It's inspired by Westerns.
It was heavily
and
well. It was
Inspired by samurai westerns. Like,
yeah.
Okay, samurai films and westerns are not the same genre.
That is
no,
fair.
that's why it's called a samurai western, because it's a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't make it a western. It makes it inspired by the western genre.
Well,
Fair
I don't know,
enough.
man. If you watch, not the whole of the original trilogy, because they kind of branched off into more traditional space opera, sci-fi fare. But
Definitely.
A New Hope and The Mandalorian. If you don't pick up on the Western themes in that,
Okay, yes,
I don't know what to fucking tell you.
I'm aware The Mandalorian was literally written to be a western, but New Hope is not a western.
Yes, it is.
Hey, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention Evil Dead.
Well, Evil Dead
Particularly Army of
That
Darkness.
is a
Those are
perfect
good
horror
Halloween movies.
Evil Dead.
Those are perfect Halloween movies.
Also, I love that Elvira's just there. I know. By the way,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, she's in her 70s now, and she's still drop dead gorgeous.
Mhm.
She's still a wonderfully pretty human being.
Keep
But-
it in your pants.
Hey, no, if I'm simping for anybody who is in a horror flick, it's fucking Sigourney Weaver. But moving on. Did we get to Honey? I don't think we did for the movie thingy.
No.
Okay, that's
No, we didn't.
so now
No,
it's
my signature Halloween film to watch that I try to watch every time. I watch this every time I did as a kid. I just don't really have the energy to watch it now because I've just outgrown it. Is the Halloween Town franchise.
so
I watched all four. It was a tradition for me as a kid to watch all four Halloween Town movies back to back when I could. Every time, like I did this up until like my senior year of high school. I was doing this. It was a massive tradition for me.
that's totally fair. Halloween Town, that was Nightmare Before Christmas and its sequels, right?
No. No, this is. I'm not saying Halloween. Halloween Town is a Disney franchise.
I must be getting them confused because I must be getting them confused with each other. Hold on a second.
Halloween Town is a Disney original movie franchise about this magical town called Halloween Town, where all of the spooky Halloween stuff is actually real. There's skeleton people, there's weird ghouls. Literally, all the costumes we wear are just like inspired psychological. Like we sort of have this mental link between the two places, and we dress up like them for Halloween without knowing that we're actually dressing up like them. And then for their Halloween, they dress up like us.
Oh, okay. So, looking into it a little bit, it's live action, not so. I don't know how the fuck I managed to get these two movies confused. And there was 2 movies. It looks like Halloween Town and then Halloween Town. Oh, wait.
No, there are 4.
Okay, because so there's
So
I see them now.
there's Halloween Town 2, Halloween Town High,
And then the Return to Halloween Town,
Halloween Town 4.
which is called the Return to Halloween Town. Okay.
The series is actually, it's basically this one girl as the main actress who's behind all of it. Like, she's just, it's built entirely around her, and I'm just surprised that they managed to keep her around for 4 solid movies. And I just learned about the lead actress runs now an Instagram site where she sells Halloween-themed stuff on her Instagram, and it's just like, this girl is literally the character that she was playing in the movie franchise. Like, she just spilled out of the page and just like is a real person from the movie.
Halloween is her whole
You've been
vibe, and
playing once you've been playing someone for so long, the line between fantasy and reality blurs.
indeed.
Yeah. It's really weird actually because she starts playing the character for the first movie. She's a pretty young girl. She's like 12, 13 in the first movie, maybe 14, but they're cast her younger. And you can like literally see her age across the 4 movies.
That's super cool. I also, as Fishbowl mentioned, sometimes you just kind of get absorbed into that and it becomes part of who you are, and the next thing you know, you're selling your Halloween-themed products on Instagram, which I can respect that hustle. Halloween stuff is cool.
The Halloween Town franchise is not something I think I could stomach to revisit nowadays, just because it is such a Disney franchise. Like, the content, it is like the most pastel, safe, somebody wiped the film down with hydrogen peroxide before they released it. It's that clean of a film, and it's just like this. It is a great film to show to your kids and for people who are okay with that type of stuff. But now that I'm an adult, it's just really hard for me to get behind it, which really sucks because I loved this franchise as a kid.
But it's like, at a certain point, it's just like, yeah, no. And I totally get that too, because I was much the same way with the Land Before Time franchise. Like, I have seen every single Land Before Time movie at least twice.
Oh, you poor child.
Nowadays, I consider 4 of them worth rewatching. The first one, the second one, Mysterious Island, which is, I believe, number 7 or 8, and number 10. Although, there's a couple of others I'm thinking I might be snubbing, like, The Stone of Cold Fire, which, by the way, what a fucking badass title for a Land Before Time movie. The Stone of Cold Fire. Like, Jesus.
That sounds like a rare D&D item.
Right? Or, and the other one is The Secret of Saurus Rock, which, not as badass, but for the universe is pretty cool. At least in my opinion. Like, I'll have to rewatch those 2 specifically to be sure, but I definitely know 1, 4, 7, and 10 are really the only ones worth revisiting. And number 1 is still the best by, like, a landslide.
I would argue for the Halloween Town franchise that number 2 is definitely the standout of the series. It has the best villain of the franchise, and it has the best stakes as well. Because for the first one, it's a very clean film, just establishing Halloween Town, all these weird special effects and sights, and there really isn't that big of a thing. But in Halloween Town 2, they established the big villain's plan is to basically swap the 2 worlds so that turn all the humans into monsters and turn all the monsters into basically the monster's idea of what a human is, which is the most boring, gray, zombie-like, who has like no emotion, no opinions, nothing interesting about them, and that's what they think humans are. And it's really fascinating, the combination. There's some time travel elements thrown in. It is just a really good, in terms of, that is probably the only one of the 4 movies I could genuinely go and revisit to rewatch. Halloween Town High comes across like a TV pilot for an ongoing TV series, and it's really shows.
TV pilot.
Very cool.
It never got one. There was never a TV show to come off of it, but it was like, it didn't work. But and then Return to Halloween Town was definitely their attempt to sort of, they were trying to do the Halloween Town franchise, but in the directorial style that Disney was now making their movies in. But it had been like 10 years since the first Halloween Town, so the directing style is so different. And they're very clearly trying to rip off Harry Potter with this one.
Oh, jeez.
How so?
Real quick, I actually have to run. I have to take a phone call, so feel free to discuss. And I will be right back shortly. I just have to deal with a phone call.
So none of you saw Halloween Town yet. None of you grew up on the Disney Channel stuff.
No, we didn't have Disney Channel over here. Well, we did, but I didn't.
Disney Channel. I grew up on like Disney Channel animated shows, some of like the pre-MCU Disney like Marvel animated shows that were on there, like Avengers or Mighty Series is what I'm talking about. And I grew up on mostly animated stuff and like the few live action stuff like Lab Rats and Pair of Kings.
I grew
And
up
that
almost
one-
entirely on the live action Disney stuff. High School Musical was my jam as a kid.
I never got. Does anyone here remember that one in a live action show called Mighty Bed? It was about like these teenage comic book nerds that worked as doctors in a hospital for superheroes.
No.
No, and it sounds awesome.
It was, I can't remember if it was good or not, but it was like this weird thing. Like all I remember is the main doctor who was like this used to be the super powerful hero.
I'll tell you what, if you can't remember if it was good or not, it was probably bad.
Exactly.
Probably, but I dug the crap out of it. And he had a running gag where he fucking loved bridges and would say that for like whatever reason. And I remember these two schlubby nerds who worked at a comic book store that the two protagonists were working at were secretly the split halves of this mega powerful supervillain, and they were trying to find out where the hospital was so they could do something to remerge and take over the world or something like that. It was a weird show.
Yeah, sounds like.
Speaking of superhero-themed TV shows, have any of you seen The Cape?
No.
I have not.
It is a really interesting, original superhero show about this guy, this cop guy who's part of a police union that's getting bought up by a private security firm, and he ends up getting framed for crime because he's one of the lead people trying to help with it. And he ends up,
Keith David's in this. Nice. Top tier show.
Wait, Keith Davis is in
S tier.
Cape,
I
or
love my boy.
what?
who's Keith David in?
Keith David's in it. And Summer Glau. I googled it. This is a good fucking cast.
Yeah, no, the cast was really good. It had so many ideas it wanted to work with. It had the crime circus. It had the evil bad guy was actually like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde split personality situation. The hero's love interest ended up getting kidnapped by a Mad Hatter style villain who brainwashed her and left her like psychologically tortured. It got very quiet all of a sudden.
Oh, this is, I mean, I didn't have anything to add to that, so.
Also, that's heavy shit, man.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. That was also the last episode where we learned that she's still suffering from some PTSD from the Mad Hatter situation, and then that was just the last thing we ever saw. We didn't get to see how any of that got resolutioned because they just canceled the show. It was like a 6-episode show that got canceled.
I didn't watch shows growing up, but I have a lot of movies. So I watched a bunch of movies. The only, show that stuck in my mind was this show called Free Phonics. It was, by the way, distinctly a British and also French-made show, I think. And it was basically, it's a music show. Not like a concert show, but a show about music.
Yeah.
In that regard. And there's these... oh my god, everything about me can be traced back to this show. I'm gonna, drop screenshots, but it was about this band called Free Phonics, and everything has, this Tron-inspired, this was Tron Legacy before Tron Legacy came out. It was, light trails and hover bikes, and, it was, I don't know how to say, it was like if they made Jet Set Radio a TV show. You know what I mean? And there was this band called Free Phonics, and they often clashed with a rival band called Mantis, and they had a rock, metal, goth look to them, whereas Free Phonics were more of how do I explain it? Skaters, punk,
Yeah.
Lucio from Overwatch. Yeah, that kind of vibe. And
So this was an animated show?
yeah, this was an animated show. And it was... it was Freezebone, BB, and Mo Stark, they called Mo for short. Mo was actually voiced by the woman who voices Faith Connors in the 2008 Mirror's Edge game. And, oh jeez, it was just, I don't know how to put it into words because there's so much to talk about in this show, but it was fucking amazing. The soundtrack is on Spotify. Oh god, all the songs were good. The aesthetics were on point. Anyway, so like the plot of it was that it starts with Mantis playing for their new boss. The Mantis is like the corporate sellout group, kind of. And they rocked so hard that they tore like a hole in space and time and unleashed an evil entity of music known as a Sonic Lord, and there's a bunch of Sonic Lords. I think his name was Vox. And Vox is like the evil one. The good Sonic Lord is Sugar Shay, and she has like this whole Motown vibe to her. And, oh god, this show is so fucking good. Oh man. I'm gonna drop screenshots. Hang on a second.
I'm looking up stuff about it right now.
Yeah. Guy ruled.
Never seen this show, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, I don't expect you to, because like I said, this was, I think it was actually a French-made show, but distributed in England. So, like, it was very, specific to me. Oh, man. And then Mantis was cut. I forget the names, but there was, like... Oh, shit. I'd have to Google the names of the Mantis members, but they were so good. Lady Lux was one. And I think Hit with 2 T's, H-I-T-T, that was the name of the drummer. Anyway, like, not all of the episodes, but I think, like, the first 7 or 8 episodes are on YouTube. And like I said, the soundtrack is on Spotify. Weirdly good soundtrack.
Fair enough.
Strong comparisons remind me of this other show that I used to love watching. That was like, I guess like a prequel cartoon to Tron Legacy.
Yes, Tron Uprising.
Yeah. I used to, that show used to be my shit as a kid. And then,
yeah, very reminiscent of Tron Uprising.
What the hell did I miss? Free phonics.
We're talking about TV shows.
we're talking about TV shows and nostalgia.
Hey, nothing. Hey, that's part of what Halloween is all about, is nostalgia. I mean, why would it not be nostalgic if it isn't about dressing up as your favorite characters,
I mean, literally, that's probably the reason why Halloween is one of the most pervasive holidays that millennials and Zoomers are so obsessed with nowadays, is just because it is one of the few childhood memories that is just, you can't cancel Halloween like you can cancel other types of things like, oh, this was kind of problematic that we just sort of ignored back then. No, just Halloween is just can't. There's nothing problematic about candy.
Like, Halloween is candy and horror movies and fun times and all of that good stuff.
Exactly. Like, it's not that it has to be good. Like, Halloween itself doesn't really matter, I think, for the reason why people like Halloween. It's purely that it is just one of the most unproblematic nostalgia trips you could have. You just have to remember...
That's the only thing keeping Christmas from infecting October.
Yes. Halloween is the barrier that saves our bacon.
As somebody who basically worships Santa Claus, I'm completely willing to allow for Christmas to overtake October.
Oh God! Ah! Note to
And it gave regular show some bomb-ass Halloween specials.
War.
Sorry, I binged all of regular show like earlier this year. The Halloween specials are so good.
That reminds me, I'm really looking forward to do the December holiday special at some point. I'm very curious if at all possible I could like maybe get somebody who's see if I can find a couple of friends who I know celebrate Hanukkah on board so that they could talk Hanukkah stuff. Because how often do you get to hear talk about Hanukkah stuff in December, for crying out loud?
Fair.
Sorry, I'm just planning and plotting and being slightly devious about the whole thing. Halloween thingy. Oh! If you could have any of your favorite shows have some sort of Halloween special, and you think they would have done a particularly good job with the Halloween special, what show would you like to have seen do it, and why? And I'm gonna actually start with Matty on this one.
Well, as I was saying to the others while you were away, I don't really watch shows all that often.
Fair dues.
But I have been picking up some shows recently, and I think I'm watching a lot of like shows that have ended now. So like, yeah, like Defiance and Beware the Batman and Superman animated and stuff like that.
If Beware the Batman was allowed to continue, I think it would have been a really cool Halloween special with
I haven't
Scarecrow.
like started that one, like it's on the queue, but I'm just like giving examples. But anyway, I also started watching the Spawn animated series, and I think that would be kind of fun to have a Halloween special.
Yo, like if Spawn does get a TV show, oh, that'd be good.
No, it did get a TV show. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that cartoon is on my HBO Max watch list.
You know, we got 3 seasons. Season 1 was definitely the best. And then Todd McFarlane has this weird thing where he believes that, like, the monster not seen is superior, but also this extends to his protagonist, so we basically never see Spawn, and it's really annoying.
Which, I get the idea, but it's part of Godzilla 2014's
Like,
biggest issue. People are there to see Godzilla, and the big guy doesn't show up until 45 minutes in.
Well, that's
And
why
then you
King of the
barely see him after
Monsters is the greatest movie of all time.
Like, I don't know, Monster Unseen thing works with, like, Alien. With, like,
yeah, with
the
Alien
personality
and
break,
Predator, and,
where it's like-
not really.
Yeah, it's like, you know, building suspense, but when the monster is the protagonist, and you can't see your protagonist, kind of creates a little disconnect.
Yeah. Gotta make it work with the antagonist, rather than the protagonist.
Or to just actually see him see your protagonist doing things.
Also,
like,
I don't think the Boondocks ever did a Halloween special. They did a couple of Christmas episodes.
That could totally work. You know who I think... I don't remember for sure if this was ever a thing, but I'm surprised this hasn't been done yet. Did Batman the Animated Series ever do a... Did Batman the Animated Series ever do a Halloween-themed episode?
I think
Probably.
they did with the Grey Ghost. Wasn't that where Batman was dressed up as the Grey Ghost for Halloween at one point?
Mm-hmm.
Let me double check, because, again, my memory's a little bit fuzzy because of how many friggin' episodes are in
They
that show.
started on a Halloween episode, a Christmas episode.
I know they did. I know they had a Christmas episode. I think the Christmas episode was actually one of the first ones they released.
Yeah, that's what I just said. They started on a Christmas episode. That was like the first episode.
Yeah. So...
Which is weird because it started in September.
Yeah. Well, jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. Way too iconic. Interestingly, it looks like there isn't like a specific Halloween episode per se, but like the first 2 results of a specific episode that I'm finding are Almost Got Him, which was the villain-centered card game episode where they talked about how they almost got Batman.
Right.
Which seems like a really weird one to pick for your Halloween special when you have a bunch of Scarecrow-themed episodes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if I were to do like if I were to go back and have a Batman, like a Halloween themed episode, I think it would have been really cute to have like a Batgirl and Robin themed episode where they have to protect trick-or-treaters, and then as part of the shtick, they get roped into trick-or-treating alongside.
Yeah.
And then the trick-or-treat kids save Batman and Batgirl and Robin.
Yes! All the little kids stand up to Scarecrow. They're not afraid of him, and they all just dogpile on him.
Well, Bob's Burgers probably had a Halloween episode. That show's been going for like 7 seasons. They definitely had some Halloween episodes in there.
Which show?
Bob's Burgers.
Oh, almost certainly. What about you, Fishbowl? Would you have liked to have seen, say, an Iron Man Armored Adventures Halloween special?
Like, here's the thing. All of my, like, favorite anime, like, shows are already either had Halloween specials or, like, feel like Halloween specials. And in the case of Gravity Falls, it's both, where it already feels like a Halloween show with them living in a weird nightmare town where monsters just pop up on every episode. And then they had a Halloween episode where the residents of Gravity Falls celebrate their own version of the holiday called Summerween, which is the exact same holiday in the summer, because screw you, I guess. Because screw you, Halloween is awesome.
Oh yeah, my sister was telling me about that, and I gotta admire their gumption, the folks at Gravity Falls. Screw you, we'll celebrate Halloween whenever we damn well please. I like that. I like their gumption. I approve.
I'd probably say, like, an Infinity Train Halloween special. And you know Infinity Train?
No, that name does not ring a bell.
It's on HBO Max. It's a fantastic absolutely fantastic cartoon. And each season follows a different protagonist as they go through a train where each car can have literally anything in it. It can literally anything in it as it and the first season is like more like about the mystery of the train, why the protagonist of that season, Tulip, is on it, what it's for, and what this glowing green number on the palm of her hand is supposed to mean. And I feel like an hour-long special, I'd say, of like brand new protagonists are probably there was this one character who, after the first season, kind of showed up in the third as help repair the train. Amelia is her name. She lands on a car that's like going haywire, and maybe it could be like a haunted little car, and she's trying to fix it. As like weird Halloween things happen at her for an hour. That would be fun.
That would be pretty cool. Especially since it's going to be on a train, so you could get all kinds of really cool little homages and cute gimmicks going on, like a little monster that just peeks in through the window and then disappears with the...
I mean, there aren't any windows in the cars because each car is like its own universe, if that makes any sense.
Weird, but
yeah.
I can totally get behind that. Okay.
It's like this train. It's like this giant, massive train that goes on for like ever in this middle of this like wasteland in another dimension. There are like these weird little cockroach dog things outside of it I want to talk about Infinity Train to give you the impression, but I don't want to spoil it too much because I also want you guys to watch Infinity Train.
That's fair.
Because it's very good.
Where did you say it was?
It's on all 4 seasons are on HBO Max.
Oh, I don't have it.
Okay, so I'd be able to find it on Crave then, because for some stupid reason, HBO Max is not technically its own goddamn service up here. It has to get lumped in with something else.
I mean, you get all the other things as well.
I suppose it's just Canada likes to do media things really weirdly, so. Say aye. How about you, honey? Sorry for the big yawn.
So, does anyone else here know the show Stargate?
Stargate?
Yes,
I've heard of it.
Oh, I haven't seen a lot of Stargate.
Stargate is my sci-fi franchise. You can have your Star Treks and your Star Wars. I'm a Stargate cow.
That's totally fair. I mean, I've only seen a couple of episodes, but I totally get the appeal for Stargate.
It's such a good show.
The episode I remember the most is when the aliens come to the humans for help because the aliens that they were fighting were invincible to their weapons, but not to human weapons because humans are so technologically behind everybody else. Basically, the humans were so stupid that the other aliens did not account for their weapons, and that was what ended up winning the day.
That was a particularly good episode, honestly. But no, I would love a Halloween themed episode for for them where they go to a planet and the planet is like a Halloween planet, or like there's a werewolf curse. Like it is explained to just be like some sort of viral version of the Goa'uld where it infects the person and then like turns them into a werewolf, and like they end up like hunting through the and like they get all this enhanced strength and become a monster, and they like running rampant through the base, and it becomes like it like turns into like an Alien reference where they're like suddenly hiding through the duct systems and like preying on everyone in the place. I think that would be a really cool Halloween themed episode.
It's especially fitting for Stargate because Stargate is allowed to be silly every once in a while. So
Stargate is allowed to be silly, and they're also allowed to just completely throw any random premise they want and have it be just for a single episode because they're exploring the entire universe, and so there's going to be something that's going to just be different from everything else they've encountered until then.
Exactly. And plus, any excuse to see Christopher Judge is an excuse I can appreciate.
Yeah. You could also do like you could do a full-on Predator homage where like the SG-1 goes onto this jungle planet and they're like exploring the situation only to be revealed that they're now being hunted by an alien bounty hunter.
I could totally get behind that. Like you have so many options with Stargate that would totally work. I approve of that little direction that you suggested.
You could also do you could also have one where instead of going for the horror, you could go for the schlock, where they go to a planet and the planet is entirely taken over by vampires. And there's like a scientific explanation for how vampirism works in this world. And it's just an alien race of vampires.
That would be, that just sounds entertaining as all. Holy hell. And then just make it schlocky and silly and bada bing, bada boom.
Exactly.
Get yourself a reference of the Count from Sesame Street and you're good. Speaking of...
just go on. I can talk forever about Stargate, but we should probably just move on.
Yeah, we could do Stargate another time. Speaking of, though, Sesame Street, I just want to interject. How many people here have seen the Game of Thrones Sesame Street crossover?
No.
Yes.
What?
Hold on. I wish I was kidding, but I am not. There is. Because oh god, Premier, don't.
Wait, was this the thing with Amelia Clark?
Yes it is, and Peter Dinklage. Hold on.
Oh yeah, no, I remember this.
I think it was for their 50th anniversary or something like that.
It wasn't Amelia Clark, it was Lena Headey.
Okay, yeah. So it was I think it was for their it was for their 50th anniversary, and the theme for the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street was respect, and they did another one with Westworld as well, in the same sort of vein. But the Game of Thrones one stuck out to me because it's Game of Thrones, and there's fucking Elmo just showing up, and then and
Wait, no, I think I remember what you're talking about.
yeah,
I think I remember it was Cersei and Tyrion. I think that's their names. I never watched Game of Thrones. And Elmo is sitting them down and teaching them to like respect and forgive each other.
yeah, and how to work together. Yep, and then it's the same for two Westworld characters and Cookie Monster. It's like, I know that Sesame Street technically is under the HBO roof now, but the tonal dissonance of this being like a semi-serious Game of Thrones thing, and then all of a sudden fucking Elmo shows up out of left field. It's like, I need that in my veins. That needs to be in my veins now. Plus, props to them for giving Cookie Monster something to do, because, you know, Cookie Monster was always my favorite. Cool.
Oscar the Grouch was mine.
Can't go wrong with Oscar either, but Cookie! Come on.
I loved the I Love Trash song. That is a particular jam for like 5-year-old honey.
I love trash. And the nice thing about that is that you can just apply that to anything. That like somebody tells you, "Oh, you like X thing? It's trash." Here's the Sesame Street song. I like trash. But yeah.
I love trash.
There you go. There we go. But yeah, that I just had to bring that up because I just remembered this, and because Halloween is also known for being just a so you can celebrate the weird. Here's some weird. Here's some weird that I approve of. Even though I while looking for this, I saw a video where it's like, why this crossover is troubling? And I'm like, guys, I don't even have to watch the video to just be like, guys, it's not trying to get kids to watch Game of Thrones. It's to teach kids about respect, and because Sesame Street is a family show and they have access to be allowed to, and Sesame Street's done parodies for all kinds of adult shows over the years. Like, this isn't even the first time they parodied Game of Thrones. You know? So it's like, calm down. Calm yourself, Sesame Street critics. Last topic for the Halloween episode, just because I know it's going to be a little bit of a short one, and I've got things on the go today. So, as you can probably imagine by the fact that I had to leave halfway through. But, real fast, what is your favorite overall thing about Halloween? Like what, it could be a favorite thing that you do, or something that you respect about the holiday, or any number of things. It's just, what is it about Halloween that you like more than, I'm not going to say any other holiday, because I know Honey, for instance, is a major Christmas fiend, but we learned that in this episode even. But, like, what keeps you enjoying Halloween, I guess is what I'm trying to say, as opposed to things like, for me, Thanksgiving is now just an excuse to eat a bunch of turkey and get a little bit sick in the process. That sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Fishbowl, why don't you start us off on this final topic?
General vibe of Halloween, because I'm not sure if people know this about me, but I love like the general, like, I don't know how to describe it, like, but like that spooky, eerie, supernatural feel. I kind of like that stuff in media. Like, I kind of like that stuff in, like, media and things. Like, I like it when things kind of feel a bit eerie or spooky or a bit supernatural. And, like, Halloween is that special time of year where people just kind of, like, embrace that certain kind of vibe.
Yeah, I get you. It's like, you really like when things have that hint of the supernatural. Like, isn't your favorite Marvel character Moon Knight?
Moon Knight. I also love I've also always loved Doctor Strange. My favorite Marvel character is Moon Knight, and he's a character that's like very connected to that weird supernatural vibe.
Yeah.
And creators kind of lean into that in varying degrees. I also love like Hellboy. Hollow Knight is my favorite game ever made, and it leans very hard into that like very eerie ambient vibe in a lot of its areas. And lore, I don't know, I love that. I love when things feel creepy.
Yeah, you love it when there seems to be a little more than natural going on.
Yeah.
Cool. How about you, honey?
I'm such a Halloween gal, as I like monsters and spooky but creatures of the night, but I'm not a big fan of them in the spooky sense. Like, you're much more likely to see me watch a vampire show that's like Angel or any other thing that's just like, oh, here are vampires and they're doing cool vampire stuff, or here's a werewolf and they're doing cool werewolf stuff, or Frankenstein, here's a Frankenstein movie again. I don't really care for the spooky or the Halloween. If there's one thing about Halloween itself that I love, is just the candy. I have a massive sweet tooth, and I love candy.
And you know what? You basically stole my answer, and I respect that, because I like the spooky stuff and whatnot, but come on. It's literally, in my mind, Halloween is just an excuse to just get a shitload of candy. Come on.
It's only only Easter is second to Halloween in terms of like how much candy is this holiday about.
Right? And it's like the only time of year you can get those chocolate eggs, and yum, 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 yum. Love me some chocolate eggs. How about you, Matty?
Really have any one thing about Halloween that I like. I don't really have any kind of attachment to any one holiday in particular at large. But, you know, it's all good. I like all of it. I like, you know, eating candy. I like watching the themed movies. I like the decorations.
Oh,
it's fun. It's a good holiday.
That's a good one. Yeah. I think that I'm gonna tweak my answer a little bit. It's just, it's nice when people are nice to each other for once.
Exactly.
And despite the vibe of like, the things that happen during Halloween, it's all violent and monstrous and terrifying. Name me another holiday. That where people are nicer to each other than Halloween. Like, and I do mean genuinely, because Thanksgiving, you get your family squabbles. Around the holiday season, it's like, people don't want us to celebrate Christmas, or what about Hanukkah? Which, you know, for Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, I understand, but when everybody gets pissy about, they're telling us to not celebrate Christmas, it's like, people...
War on Christmas, mates. They're trying to erase our religion by not labeling Christmas crackers as Christmas in the supermarket.
I know. It's like, what? What are you people doing? But like Halloween, I think Fishbowl mentioned it. Like, Halloween is not, or it was either Fishbowl or Honey. Halloween is not problematic at all. There's nothing. There's nothing like wrong with Halloween per se. Like, and even its origins really. It's like, hey, we're just gonna emulate the spirits so that we can keep the spirits away. I don't hear anybody complaining about that. Plus,
only the Christian fundamentalists are mad about Halloween, and we don't care about the Christian fundamentalists.
And even then,
I went to a Christian school, and I remember a few of the teachers said that Halloween was sinful, but they were usually in the minority, and on Halloween night they still held, like, they called it a harvest festival, but it was basically just like a Halloween celebration where they would blow up some bouncy castles and give out kids candy. So it was totally Halloween.
It was totally Halloween under a different name, basically.
Like, they weren't celebrating Halloween, but
it's totally a Halloween thing. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, very few people actually have an issue with Halloween. It's just people who want to get mad at stuff, and that's it. And even then, they don't generate a whole lot of buzz when it comes to hating on Halloween. So it's like, we get to have our spooky goth season, and nobody cries foul about it, and it's just fantastic. Plus, if I am allowed to go dark with this last little thing, name me another holiday where you can let children mutilate a gourd, carve a face into it, and it not be creepy. Jack-o'-lanterns are so damn fun.
Also, this is one of the few holidays where you can just, the mere existence of the holiday is just a fuck you to cops. Like, the reason we have the whole, we're putting razor blades in candy, that was a myth perpetrated by cops to try to like ruin Halloween because they didn't like the fact that they couldn't just go and hassle people who were on the street at night because it was Halloween and everyone was on the street at night.
Yeah. So, the more you know, I suppose. Regardless, it's just like... Yee.
Yeah.
It's just... Yee. Right along. Right along. Right along. So that's our Halloween special. I know it got a little bit messy and bounced all over the place, but then again, what Chamber of the Wraith content isn't bouncing all over the place at some point? I mean... we're technically recording this on the 30th, but, I mean, by the time this goes live, I'm debuting a Sly Cooper series on the channel. So, you know, that's fun. So, thanks everybody for swinging on by for the Halloween thingies, or for all the Halloween thingamajigs. Oh, wait, actually, I had one last question. We'll make this real fast. What was your favorite costume for Halloween? Matty!
Who?
Matty, what's your favorite...
Oh, you glitched out a little bit there.
Sorry, I got super excited because I forgot.
Yeah.
Your favorite
like
Halloween
I said,
costume.
trick-or-treating wasn't a big thing. I never really dressed up for Halloween.
You never really dressed up? Okay, that's fair. Not even for like a
No.
costume party or anything?
No, hang on. I did do Jessica Jones last year, I think, or the year before that. But that wasn't a trick-or-treating thing. It was just like,
Hey, it still
it's
counts.
Halloween, I'll dress up.
Hey, it still counts. If you dressed up for anything related to Halloween, it still counts in my book.
Yeah.
My favorite is still to this day the Raiden costume. I basically made all with the help of a friend of mine. So,
Nice.
Yeah. Fishbowl.
Hold up, I'm getting pictures of it, but a few years, like 2 years ago, I homemade a Scarlet Spider costume to use for Halloween. And I still have pictures of it somewhere on my Instagram. I'm trying to see
We'll let you look for that, and then that's how we'll close it out. We'll close it out with Fishbowl cosplaying Scarlet Spider. Honey!
Two notable costumes that I wore as a kid, because I only did the trick-or-treating stuff as a kid, and I didn't really wear costumes that much. First time I costumed as Harry Potter, where we got a Harry Potter costume, complete with a big plastic broom and everything. And the next year around, I didn't want to just wear the same costume because I felt that would be kind of dumb. So, but it was last minute, and because I had completely forgotten about trick-or-treating until then. So we didn't have a costume yet in mind for me. So I just made I got a cloak, but I took the Harry Potter cloak and just sort of draped it over my head. My mom painted my face white like a skull, and we like strapped a cardboard scythe to the end of the broomstick, and we just sort of broke the broomstick handle off of the broom, and we turned that into a scythe, and I was the Grim Reaper for that Halloween.
It's like, oh shit, I wanted to go trick-or-treating. Shit, I don't have a new costume. Shit, what am I gonna do? You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna be death.
Yeah, I'm honestly sad because of the whole COVID situation, because I would love to go, like, wear a sexy costume and go down to a bar and, like, do drink fancy shots for, like, Halloween and stuff. But it's just, like, you can't do that right now because people are being stupid.
Because people are being dumb. I mean, you could kind of do it up here, but we have vaccine cards that get emailed to us after we get poked, so... As long as you're COVID sensible, then you're good to go. Also, this is a great way to end the Halloween episode. We get to take a look at Fishbowl's Scarlet Spider, which is well done.
Yeah, that's a really good costume.
Well done. So, thanks everybody who decided to tune in. Don't forget to be awesome. We'll see you guys on the other side. Sometime in November, I believe we have the recording date set for the 7th right now. We're going to be revisiting a topic we mentioned in the Arkham cast, because we really didn't have enough time to kind of go into detail on that because it was already over 5 hours by that point. But we're going to be revisiting something and taking a look at that, and hopefully you guys have a very happy Halloween. Don't do the evil laugh. Don't do the evil laugh.